Hey, it's Theo and thank you for joining me. And today I'm reviewing all the new cards for Death Knight for the new expansion across the Timeways. Now you might have seen a couple of these already on my channel since I got to reveal two of these, but in this video I'll be reviewing every single card and I'll be doing that for every class in the upcoming weeks, so stay tuned for that. Now let's start with the first one, the Fabled Legendary, which is Talanji of the Graves. A 4 mana 4/5 undead Battlecry. Draw Bonsumdi, or resurrect him if he has died. Choose a boon to give to him. Now, of course, it's a fabled card, so it comes with two more cards, which are obviously Bonsumdi, a 6 mana 6/6 undead. Death Rattle, summon a random 4-cost minion. Any boons given to Bonsumdi carry over. And the second card is What Befell Zandalar, a 3 mana spell. Deal 2 damage to all enemies. Choose a boon to give to Bonsumdi. So the boons you can give to Bonsumdi are Boon of Longevity. It's a give Bonsumdi lifesteal permanently. Minions summoned by his Death Rattle cost 2 more. Then the Boon of Power is give Bonsumdi taunt permanently. Minions summoned by his Death Rattle cost 2 more. And Boon of Speed is give Bonsumdi rush permanently. Minions summoned by his Death Rattle cost 2 more. So yeah, that's a lot of cards, and I hope you can read all of them here on the screen. But the idea is right, that first of all you want to play Talanji and the Zandalar card, and they both give the boons to Bonsumdi, and then you play Bonsumdi, you'll probably be choosing Rush and Lifesteal. That seem to be the best combo, although maybe something else is needed, right? Like if you're full health, you don't need Lifesteal. But Bonsumdi then is a 6 mana 6/6 rush lifesteal in that scenario. That summons a random 8-cost minion, and then also that 8-cost minion will also have the boon, so it also has then rush and lifesteal. So that can be a pretty big heal rate, almost similar to Zilliax, where you get the 6 heal, and then probably more than that with the 8 drop. Or potentially more if you get an even bigger minion. And that's a pretty strong payoff, and then potentially you could also copy it with certain cards, and we'll get later to a card that can resurrect the undead, so that can be pretty strong. But the other two cards are kind of mediocre, right? I mean, Talanji, Resurrect can be good, but then you're probably resurrecting kind of weaker Bonsumdi maybe that you had to play earlier. Or it's kind of like Xavier's maybe, right? Where you draw a minion for 4 mana with almost the same stats, and then you give it a bit of an upside. And then What Befell Zandalar, yeah, that is basically a Consecrate, but yeah, Consecrate doesn't really see much play at all. Well, no play at all. So it's not the greatest card, so I feel like Talanji and the spell are kind of mediocre cards to go with it, but then you have a very nice payoff. And getting a lot of healing is especially good in Death Knight, right? Because you can easily go above 30 health, and then yeah, the healing just has way more impact. But the setup might just be a bit slow, right? Again, those two cards are kind of mediocre to get to the Bonsumdi payoff, but still, I'll be giving this card 3 stars. I'll be positive about the card because, yeah, I think with the tutor as well, right, it can be kind of consistent, and then especially if there's some ways to easily copy it, can be a pretty strong reward. And the second card we have is Cryo Frozen Champion, a 1 mana 2/1. Death Rattle, get a random legendary minion, reduce its cost by 1. Now this does have 1 Frost Rune, so you can't just play it in any deck. And yeah, it's a 1 mana 2/1, that's okay stats for like maybe aggressive deck, right? Which is what usually is what Frost is, an aggressive deck. So it can push some damage, and then you also get a random legendary, which is, yeah, kind of awful. Like even discovering legendaries is generally pretty bad. But yeah, it is a 1-drop, and you also get to reduce its cost by 1. So it can be one of those cards that's kind of nice to play early on, right? It's a nice stat, it can push some damage, and if it gets killed, yeah, it still has some value late game, right? It's not the absolute worst top deck in late game unless it's the only card you play. And then maybe you get sometimes a nice legendary with it, and especially with the mana reduction, it can help it a bit, but yeah, still, doesn't seem like the strongest, right? Just a 1 mana 2/1 with maybe a useful effect, just not the strongest nowadays, so I'll be giving this card 2 stars. And the third card we have here is Time Stop, a 2 mana frost spell, deal 3 damage, freeze 2 random enemy minions, and it has 2 frost runes, so again, you'll be playing this in a frost deck. And yeah, it seems pretty solid in a frost deck, right? Just the deck wants to deal damage. This does 3 damage, so fits perfectly in it. And on top of that, you get to freeze 2 random enemy minions. So sometimes it can be a bit like Frostworm's Fury, where you just freeze the whole board if there's only 2 minions, right? And it's just really nice in slowing down the opponent while you throw all your damage at their face. And of course, with this card, you can also protect your board, while you keep chipping at the opponent's health while yeah, you're not dying because all those minions are frozen. So yeah, seems to be a solid card, though not super amazing for Death Knight, and I'll be giving it 3 stars. Then we have the Chrono Chiller, a 4 mana 8/7 undead. Yes, 8/7. It might just be the biggest statted minion as a 4-drop that doesn't require other things to be summoned. You no longer draw a card at the start of your turn. So yeah, that's a lot of stats, but yeah, it does have those 2 runes, the Frost rune and the Unholy rune. So it only goes into a few decks, and yeah, just having an overstated minion with a downside, it's not amazing, because I think like a lot of the decks aren't even playing the Ziliax, right? Which is a 4 mana 5/7 that becomes a 10/7. It's kind of a must-kill target. So yeah, the stats are already kind of in the game, and I feel like a lot of decks just aren't playing that. And then you also don't draw a card if it lives, which is kind of a downside, especially if it gets frozen, right? There's a lot of like glacial shards or just freeze cards in general, like Bob. And then yeah, you play his late game, it gets frozen, and oh, you don't get a top deck, and the opponent basically played the Time Warp. It's not exactly what you want. And on turn 4, even that doesn't feel the strongest, because there's just so much rush and removal nowadays. So yeah, well, there's a lot of stats. I just don't think it's worth playing cards like this that just have a lot of stats and then also pretty significant downside sometimes. So I'll be giving this card 1 star. And the next card is Blood Draw, a 3 mana shadow spell, 1 blood rune. Discover a spell. This costs health instead of mana. So I believe the health cost is on this card, not the discovered card. So it's basically 0 mana and 3 health to discover a card. So yeah, 0 mana card, always pretty good. And yeah, you can discover a card with this, but yeah, just discovering a card for 3 health, it's not that amazing. Like, there's a lot of mediocre cards, and in general, there's a lot of decks just don't really discover anymore, right? The main discover deck is Mage, but that's because of the quest, and not because necessarily all those cards are super amazing to discover. Decks just don't run out of cards anymore, and well, would you rather have a discovered card that's maybe good, or just a card from your own deck that is always good because you put it in there? That usually means it's your own card. And this one, yeah, it's 0 mana, so maybe you get a situationally good card, but still, you do need to spend the health, and then yeah, maybe the health, yeah, it's kind of valuable, right? If you're against an aggro deck and you don't want to play this because it's just not really consistent enough, and yeah, you don't get anything else on top of it, right? Usually there's like a minion with the discover, which is a bit of an upset, but this one doesn't have it. And yeah, it does have a little bit of synergy though with the next card we'll cover, but I don't think it's enough to make it a really good card, so I'll be giving this card 2 stars. It is 0 mana, they usually see play, but yeah, I just don't think it's too amazing. And the next minion we have is Life Render, a 3 mana 3/4 undead. Battlecry, if your hero's health changed this turn, deal 6 damage to an enemy minion. So change, right? That means you can like attack with a weapon into a minion. You can just heal, and we've seen cards like this before. I think in the Priest we had a while ago. Was it Scolomans? But yeah, this one, yeah, the effect seems good, right? I mean, a 3 mana 3/4 with deal 6 damage to a enemy minion, like that's pretty good by itself. But the problem is, yeah, changing your health, it's actually pretty difficult to do as Death Knight. Nobody's playing cheap weapons at the moment, so it's hard to use this to actually take damage, then play this one. And also, yeah, gaining health is pretty difficult. There's the leeches, but those are at the end of the turn, so that doesn't work for this card. And then there's just not a lot of cards that work with this that you really want to be playing. And also, it doesn't really seem to be worth a card, right? You want to be building your deck around, because yeah, while it is nice, it isn't really a game-winning effect. So I think just activating this card is what's really holding this card back, because yeah, it's just way too difficult to do, even though the effect is good. So I'll be giving this card 2 stars. I think still, maybe there's some cards you can play with, like we get some cheap weapons, right? Something like that, or a very cheap heal. This can work, but I think it's a little bit too inconsistent to really rate this too high. And we have another card that works with your health, which is the Forgotten Millennium. An 8 mana, 1 blood rune, 1 unholy rune spell. Fill your hand with random undead. They cost health instead of mana this turn. So cards that fill your hand can be pretty good, but yeah, often they're a little bit too expensive. But this one then kind of counteracts that by making them cost health instead of mana. But yeah, you're getting undead. And generally, random undeads, if you ever played like some Discover Undead cards, they're generally pretty bad, the undeads. They're just not the best card. They often need like synergies with other cards to work. And yeah, just getting a bunch of random undead isn't very strong. And then for 8 mana, you get the cards and you hope they're good, and then you have to spend mana on them. But then if they're actually good, right, like if you get 4 4-drops and then a bunch of cheap ones, yeah, that's almost all your health already. Like, that just seems way too expensive. Like, most games you just can't afford to spend that much health. And then if you get, let's say, 8 cheap cards, let's say 8 cards in hand for 1 mana, right? And you play 7 of them, you got 7 1/2s or 1/1s for 8 mana and 7 health. Would you play that card? Yeah, probably not. I don't think you would play that card for 8 mana because sealed cards like Huddle Up, they don't see a lot of play, and that's definitely better statted than this one. So I just don't see why you want to be playing it. The cards that you get aren't good, and then yeah, they just cost too much health if they're actually good. So yeah, not a good card, and I'll be giving this 1 star. Then we're getting to the second legendary, and this one looks pretty amazing. It is Husk's Eternal Reaper, a 4 mana 5/3 undead. Battlecry, give your hero Death Rattle. Spend up to 20 corpses to resurrect with that much health. So yes, this is the first time you can actually resurrect your hero, and yeah, it looks pretty incredible as a card. Though the thing is, yeah, what are you playing this in? That's I think gonna be the main issue with this card, because this feels like a control kind of card, right? Because yeah, then you can just die, but then come back and then keep going, and then the longer you stay alive, right, the more you win. But yeah, those decks, right, with like the triple blood decks or the blood, and holy decks, and what do all those decks do? Yeah, they spend a lot of corpses, right? You've got Corpse Explosion, Maladar, the Weapon Foam Render, the Terror decks. Like that's a lot of cards you want to be spending corpses on, and yeah, often yeah, you won't really have many corpses left for a card like this. So I think that'll be the main issue, is what you play this in. Because yeah, you can play it in some aggro decks, right? I think it'll see play in decks that just don't use corpses. And this card is kind of perfect, right? Because if you don't spend corpses, you have a deck with a lot of minions. Yeah, there's just 20 extra health you can get for just 4 mana. And it allows you to play a lot more aggressive, right? You can ignore boards more because you know you won't die when they kill you. And for just 4 mana, you're getting 20 health, and making sure you don't die is pretty amazing. It's just an issue of what decks will this go into, and yeah, maybe the future, right, control decks will use less corpses, maybe Corpse Explosion will rotate, we'll get another clear that doesn't use corpses. Who knows? This gets even better then. But for now, I think I'll give it 4 stars. Pretty unique effect. It's really, really strong. Just, yeah, we'll see what decks this will be played in. Then the next card I got here is the Memoriam Manifest, the other card I revealed earlier today, which is a 4 mana shadow spell. Summon the highest cost friendly undead that died this game. So again, you can resurrect the Bone Sunday from early, and it keeps all the effects. So yeah, you can get like a 6/6 lifesteal rush that summons a 8 cost minion, and that seems really strong. But again, that requires a lot of setup though, right? That requires you to play both the cards that give a boon, then play Bone Sunday, have it die, and then play this one. But I'm not sure that is going to be consistent enough, because yeah, that's one card, and then you also need to play those other cards with it. And maybe you can resurrect like the Travel Security or the Stegodon, and then those decks often kind of work around it, and then you get more of those. And that might be worth it, because then you just get more of the cards that your deck is built around, and that's kind of what you want, right? And also means that any really strong future undead will be pretty good with this one. So I think I'll be giving this card 3 stars. It's a Resurrect card. They've often been pretty strong, especially when you can target specific cards with it. Though I feel like the pool's a little bit lacking, but still, some of those cards are pretty good to get back. And the last new card for Death Knight is Shadows of Yesterday, a 6 mana 2 Unholy Rune shadow spell. With Rewind, summon 4 3/2 shades. They each gain 2 random bonus effects. So the Rewind effect is pretty nice, right? Like if you need like a rusher, get one, you can rewind and pretty often get a rush. But also, yeah, there's a lot of useless stuff you can get, right? Like often like Taunt, Untargetable, like Wind Fury if you expect it to die immediately, right? There's a lot of useless things you can get here. And that's a bit of a problem, because you have 4 3/2s with maybe some useful cards for 6 mana. It feels like it's just a little bit too ineffective in today's meta. Just too much removal for this, right? It's too easy to clear some of these. And even if one survives, right? Even if you get like the ideal, maybe like the Vine Shield Wind Fury, it's only turn 6 that you get 1 minion that deals the damage. And just a lot of cards similar to this one just don't see play, right? In Shaman, I think we got a 6 mana card that summons 4 minions. Yeah, it just doesn't see play. We had the Limbram card that summons 3 3/3 Divine Shield cards, and then might have Rush, and that gets discounted. And that's really the reason it's good, is because yeah, the Divine Shields are very strong, and then it can get buffed, and then of course they get discounted. So I just don't see when you want to be playing this as Death Knight. Yeah, you get a decent board, but it just feels like it will get wiped out by anything, and the upside just isn't really there. I just don't see why you want to be running this in an unholy deck, so we're giving this card 1 star. And those are all the cards for Death Knight. Let me know in the comments what you thought of them. Do you agree with my ratings? Let me know. If you want to see more of these videos, make sure to subscribe, as I'll be reviewing every class each working day. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and until next time.